and a very warm welcome to this Learning Horizons episode, where today we are going to talk about the exciting topic of AI and how it is transforming the workplace. This is the first of quite a few episodes about AI. As you can imagine, there are quite a lot to say about it. So today we are going to set a little bit of an introduction about how it is changing the workplace across the business. And this is why I have a special guest. If you're new to Learning Horizons, this is a series dedicated to reimagining learning and collaborating in the digital workplace. And we are trying to reinvent what is possible and how to challenge the status quo. So what could be done differently, and how can we ignite creativity and performance in the workplace? So today we are talking about AI, and I am absolutely delighted to welcome Dave Rakshit, who, unlike all our previous guests, is not a learning specialist. Dave, you are a marketing and communication specialist. You also have developed yourself more recently as an AI trainer, and you're based in Switzerland, which might explain that quite a few of your work is related to pharma. We've known each other since I think around COVID time, where we had a very exciting pharma marketing learning project together, and it was really fun. And what I really like about you is that you're always curious, always happy to challenge the way you work and explore a new way of doing things. So, not without surprise, you've been embracing AI and seeing how it can make your work more efficient and performance. And there are a lot of overlap between marketing and learning. So we are both part of the business, supporting the general business goals, and we have to adapt to the challenges, the goals that the business set upon us. So a very warm welcome, Dave, onto this Learning Horizons series.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the kind words, and I'm looking forward to this conversation very much.
So thank you for being with us today. And I'm curious, as a marketing and communication expert, what initially triggered your interest in AI? Were you trying to solve any particular business issues?
Yeah, my interest in AI, I guess, started in about February 2023, so more than 2 years ago, when I was working at that time as strategy director for Ogilvy. And we'd actually got onto this AI bandwagon. We were looking at the tools that were being used because a lot of the client base at Ogilvy had asked us what can AI be used for. So that's why my interest started, and I was part of the task force at Ogilvy charged with developing AI methods to try and address client needs. I guess in these 2 years, the AI landscape has changed immensely. And I mean, it's basically AI is not a complicated thing. It's often referred to as a large language model. So AI is like a computer or a machine that's set up to think and understand and generate human language. It's nothing really complicated. It's like a time saver, if you like, for companies and businesses. So that's how I got into AI. And the other thing is that I like to think it's living proof that you can teach an old dog new tricks.
And that's why you're on Learning Horizons, because you are the living proof that that we can all learn something new when we want to, right? There's always a willingness behind the learning.
Yeah.
So, Dave, what have you found out? So what are the key findings around how AI can solve business issues?
Well, I think primarily AI is a great way of saving time. So you can just ask it, I don't know, if you have a 200-page PDF market research report, you can feed it into the AI tool and ask it to prepare a 1,000-word summary. So in the old days, you would go through this report with the marker pen, try and decide what's relevant, what's not relevant. And then, of course, with AI, you get the answer in about a minute. So that's one aspect. On a more mundane thing, we all have these horrible long email chains. And again, you can just feed in the email chain into an AI tool and just say, can you summarize this for me? The other thing, I guess, is that you can think of AI as like Google on steroids. So if you put in a search term into Google, you'll get all the various links and you have to go through them one by one and decide what's relevant and what's not relevant. Whereas with AI, you can just feed in your topic and it'll come up with a summary of all the relevant information, because the AI tool itself trawls or spiders across all the internet sites that are with the information. So it's not a manual process you have to do anymore. The AI does it for you. And I think what I've learned is that AI has four, I like to call them superpowers. It's great for generating ideas. So I don't know if you want to have, I love this classic case. You can take a picture of the food in your fridge and say, can you come up with a menu for tonight, please? And it'll just come up with a menu. It can analyze content. So I've given you that example before of this PDF market research report. It's very good at generating content. So it can generate, you can ask AI to say, look at your company website and then come up with 3 posts, either for LinkedIn or for social media, summarizing your company's approach to sustainability, for example. And then I guess the final superpower is that AI can give feedback. So if you have to do a presentation for, say, the CMO or the chief financial officer, you have your presentation and you can ask AI to give a critique of your presentation. What does it think of it? Other areas of improvement. So there's a huge potential in a whole variety of areas, and it's only just beginning now. It's changing almost every day. There are new applications, new tools, and so on.
Well, that is very interesting, Dave, what you're sharing with us. And yes, most of us have experienced, how ChatGPT or Bard or any of the AI tools can create some content. Now, in your field, how do you evaluate the quality of the content? How do you decide, how are you generally finding the quality of the content, and how do you benchmark it against what was previously done?
Yeah, I think this leads nicely into the limitations of AI, and there's three main limitations with AI. The first one is that it tends to hallucinate. So if it hasn't got enough historical data and can't answer your question, rather than saying it can't do it, it'll come up with something just to please you. And there's a classic case, I think, of 2 years ago when someone used a very earlier version of ChatGPT and asked it to say who was the first man who walked across the English Channel. Now, obviously, we know that's not possible. You can't walk across the channel. But AI came up with a name of a Frenchman who apparently had done it. Obviously, if you type in this query now in ChatGPT, it'll tell you it can't be done. But that's just the hallucination, if you like, based on not having enough data, and it's trying to please you. The second limitation with AI is it's biased. So it uses training data. And if the data that it has access to is incomplete or has been incorrectly interpreted, then you're going to get a biased outcome, which is maybe not truly representative. And the final limitation with AI is data privacy or data protection. Most big companies have an enterprise version of an AI tool, so they can upload sensitive commercial documents without having to worry. Whereas the normal basic model of AI, you can actually switch off the data usage for training button, but then you have no historical record to your prompts. So that's the downside. So that's so for example, if you're unsure, you would not say we are Novartis and we're launching a new cancer drug. You would write in the AI prompt, we are a leading pharmaceutical company. with the following oncology portfolio. So you're not giving away any commercial information. So those are the limitations.
May
What
I
it
bounce back, sorry, on the feedback element, which for me in learning, I have found quite interesting and quite powerful to some extent. But I wanted to have your take because you said two things that resonate here. First, it's hallucinate. So, okay, for the feedback, it's probably a little bit different, but you also say it wants to please. So how accurate is this feedback that we're
Right. So
receiving?
basically, you have a prompt, and you feed it into the AI tool. Now, the AI tool doesn't work with the language that's given. It converts it into a programming language called Python, and then
Mm-hmm.
the AI tool works with Python, um, addresses your prompt, comes up with an answer, which it then translates back from Python into the language. So already you're having a conversion step that may introduce errors or false information. And then coupled with hallucination and bias, the only way you get around that is the human factor. So with prompting, you can do one prompt, but it's never going to give you the right answer. You're going to have to you have to refine your prompts and so on. So that's what you call an AI polishing of the response to get around any possible misinformation. But the more accurate one is the human polish, where you just, as a user, have to say, well, does this make sense? So if you're asking about market information, say for a medtech product, you know the field more than the AI machine or tool does. So you have to actually decide, does the answer make sense? What I'm being told? Or do I have to rewrite or rephrase or dig deeper? So basically, you cannot take the response that AI gives you to a prompt as gospel. You have to go through it and ask yourself, does this make sense? And so on.
It's something that I mean, probably widely discussed is the fact that very often the first iteration generated by the AI tool is vague, bland, beige, and really need a certain amount of redirections to make sure it
Mhm.
hits the right notes. You are quite specialized and you are in a very specific, I would say, niche field, working in marketing for pharma. So how do you find the market information, the accuracy of the market informations in your specific field? How do you find that? Have you been exposed, I would say recently, to monumental errors or wrong practice or wrong informations? Is it something that is becoming less frequent? Do you want to maybe talk to us a little bit about this?
Yes, I think having a wrong response again goes back to the human factor of checking what you have, but you can also look at how you create or mold your prompt. So you can have three levels of prompt. I like to think that you can have a basic prompt, you can have an intermediate prompt, and you can have an advanced prompt. So an example of a basic prompt would be, hello AI, could you please generate an itinerary for me for a 2-day offsite meeting for marketing people in the Peak District in England? And then you'll get some information. It may be correct, it may not be correct. You have to then give it a bit more context. So you could then add a couple more elements to this basic prompt. So you could say, okay, I'm the chief marketing officer. I need an itinerary for an offsite meeting, 2 days for marketing team. And the offsite meeting should be a mixture of half and half, should be then work and should also be fun sessions. And the fun sessions should involve team building. Work should be looking at what we have achieved so far and what our future plans are. So already you're adding a few more layers to the prompt. And then you can go and really create then the advanced prompt, which is you then repeat all of this and then you write in you should plan on 50 people attending and a budget of £250 per person. And then the final part of the prompt would be, please explain your reasoning why you're making these suggestions. Why will it be an unforgettable event for the team? So you've through a series of iterations, you've come up with a really solid prompt, and you can always, based on the responses, and also fine tune and add more text. But what I mean here is going back to, if you're getting false information, it's then down to you as a human, as the chief marketing officer, to assess, okay, does this itinerary make sense? If he says, if the response says yes, the outdoor activities could take place in Plymouth. Well, you know, Plymouth is nowhere near the Peak District. So again, this is the human assessment of, does it make sense? And once you've got all that, you could then go further and ask the AI tool to say, okay, now can you give me a detailed agenda broken down per hour of the various activities? And then the AI can give you a very nice agenda for the whole day, from morning till maybe the evening meal with the people. And again, you then assess if it makes sense, if it's what you want. And then you just reprompt to say, okay, listen, I don't like this first session, just the PowerPoint presentations. Can we make it more interactive with having a fun work game type model, or so on? So that's, but again, it goes back to having a solid prompt, reiterating the prompt, and then doing the human assessment of the response to see if it makes sense.
That is something that I found quite interesting, is this prompt element. And I'm curious to see what's your approach to it, because I'm on an AI group where we talk about AI and learning. It's all very exciting, right? And then someone very generously shared a catalog of prompt, right? Now there were 200 pages. So it is great. It's meant to be helpful, but where I stand, I'm actually wondering, is it better to use a catalog of prompt and spend a bit of time looking, like, you know, going through something that's been published by someone who clearly put the work into it? Or do you have a magic recipe, the dev recipe on how to create the perfect prompt for your project? How do you work?
That's a very good question. No, I don't have a dev recipe, but ChatGPT has a function, if you're willing to pay the monthly fee, where you can have a prompt library. So where you have repetitive prompts, you can actually have these housed in a column. So you could maybe call it basic market research. And then if you
Okay.
have a new product, or you have competitor activities, you go to that prompt. It'll probably be a series of prompts. You can then feed in the questions you have, and it'll use those prompts to, so it's like having a prompt catalog, but it's grouped. So rather than having to go through God knows how many pages of various prompts, you have them clustered. If you want to do market research, if you want to develop consumer personas, if you want to set up a media training based on AI, you can then cluster these prompts into a prompt library with sections. And I think Perplexity also offer this service, and possibly Claude. All these tools, they're changing every week. They have new features. It's very hard almost to keep up. And the only way is just to keep working with the tools. And when you find one that meets your needs, you stay with it. Don't get sidetracked with the latest, newest function, bells and whistles from company X. Stay with the one you know. If you find it's not providing what you want, or you're hitting limitations, then you can explore an alternative offering. But basically, having a huge list of prompts is very difficult to work with. So and ChatGPT, as well as a couple of others, have this way of grouping prompts. So customized prompts, or customized GPTs, it's called.
Oh, so basically, you create your own prompts, or you search for the prompts to that best fit your needs, and then they're saved within the environment where you are going to use them. Now, I've got a follow-up question on that prompt element. So if you have actually, like you said, save your libraries of prompt, and then you decide to reuse one of your prompt for a new project. Now, are you going to start like step by step? So, hi, I'm having a new project and I would like to do a market research. And my first question is, I don't know, this cancer drugs in China per se, right? Also, or are you, because you've done this library of prompt, can you say, can you bang all the question in one go? So is there like a difference in asking multiple questions? So all your chain of prompts that you've developed in a previous project in different steps, can you just actually copy everything in one go? I said, well, hi, ChatGPT, I would like this, and this. What works best?
I think you can have both approaches. So I would suggest that you open up the prompt library for that specific task you're trying to complete.
Mm-hmm.
And then you run the first prompt and you see what answer you get, because maybe what you're asking is not covered by the first prompt. So you may have to reprompt.
Right.
And if you see already at that stage it's not working too well, you may have to then go on the individual route. Otherwise, if you see it's working well already with the first prompt, you can then say, okay, then please can you apply the next following prompts and continue with the iterations, and then you'll get the answers you need. But even though you have the prompt set up in a cluster, you still need to go through every response and fine tune. And what all these AI tools do is they'll give you a response, and then at the end they'll give you 5 or 6 different questions for further investigation. And often these are quite good as well. So I don't know, if you're looking at, say, a CT scanner, it will, and you're looking at manufacturers, then you get the response of the worldwide group, and then at the end of the response, it may say, I see you're based in Europe. Would you like a breakdown of just European manufacturers? And then you can click on that. So that's not in your original prompt library, but it's expanding the prompt. And this is how AI actually thinks with you. So you can also have conversations back and forth. You can say, yeah, I'm interested in Europe, but just the top 5 countries. And then you start the conversation that way.
So if I summarize a little bit what you said, is that well, clearly AI is not exactly going to replace us. They are a way of amplified and accelerate our work practice. So to really grasp the product, like the answers given by the AI, we really have to actually do a detailed assessment. So when we go back to the prompt, from my interpretations, what you said is actually probably easier to actually go through smaller chunks. So it's possible to actually reuse libraries of prompt or a series of prompt in one go, but for quality assurance purposes, it might actually be better for the human to actually go by smaller chunk to make sure everything is accurate, especially when you're dealing with very technical project where like a word can make a huge difference. The choice of word can make a huge difference.
Correct.
So that lead us to stepping back a little bit and thinking about how you think AI is going to change the way you marketers as a business support function are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think I saw an interesting webinar the other day with the head of research from Microsoft and Professor Scott Galloway, who's a leading marketing professor, and they were discussing the impact of AI. Is it going to cost jobs and everything? And what was clear is that what's going to be decisive for people's careers is you're going to have 2 groups. You're going to have the people who are AI savvy and can use the techniques, and they will carry on. And the ones who don't jump on AI may actually lose their jobs, because you're going to have less people. You can do more with AI. It's going to replace, certainly it's going to replace certain jobs and tasks. So the ones who are clued up on AI, they won't have a problem. They will just keep developing their skills. They will save time on the mundane jobs, which frees up their time to do more strategic thinking, more commercial thinking, and that'll help businesses and drive them forward. And the more routine tasks, I'm sure they'll be done with AI. Just giving it a really crazy example, I saw the other day someone had written that they had asked AI to write the prompt for them. So they had a financial report, and they said, I need to prepare this for my CEO. What kind of prompt do I need to give you, or what do I need to think about with my prompt that you can analyze this report and give me a valuable set of information for the CFO? And it did it. It wrote the prompt. The guy then refined it a little bit, and then he got the answer. So that just shows that you can use AI to help you with AI. And I think people who understand this and this level of work or the usage are the ones that obviously will not have any trouble. But the ones who are scared of embracing I think going forward, they're going to have a very tough time.
And I would say that it's based on our conversations, but also the learning specialist and also the parent. It's leveraging AI, and maybe you may disagree, requires some highly developed communication skills, because prompting is about asking the right questions, and it is about being quite specific in the language we use. It doesn't have to be sophisticated language, but it requires a certain amount of critical thinking and having a certain amount of clarity of goals, as well as the prior knowledge, which helps evaluate the quality of the response. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think there's also a huge area for training and development, as well as also um, how corporate communicates, how the company is transitioning into AI. And I think the other day we also had this conversation that you can see how AI can be used for training, how it can be used by HR. And I think these are things that need to be factored in, how it can be used for performance appraisal reviews and so on. And I think communications, not just in terms of prompting, but in the broader picture of AI, is going to be an essential success factor, because you have to take away the fear from people and have to show them through the correct training and development how they can then apply the AI techniques in their work.
And so there are quite broad skills of that need to be embraced, I would say, and people who can differentiate themselves in that field. So curiosity, clarity of communications, being quite goal focused, understanding performance, understanding the outcome that they want, being able to see what's good look like, so they kind of be quite specific, and being able to identify what it's not when it's not is quite essential. So as a marketer talking to a learning professional, what do you want the learning professionals, how do you want the learning professional to develop the workforce? What advice would you, what question would I ask them, like, in what they should do next to train the workforce to embrace the AI? What skills do you think they should focus on, or what approach should they develop to raise the bar
Mhm.
for the workforce?
I think that's a very interesting question. And I think what learning and development professionals can do is they can help with management, take away the fear of using AI. So a lot of people think, oh, you have to use AI and it has to work. Well, no, you don't. You have to play around with AI. You have to become familiar with it. There'll be some times where you don't get it right, where it maybe takes longer to do something with AI because you're having to work out the process. But every time you go through the process, every iteration will make you faster, stronger, and more confident. So I think it's also a cultural thing. I saw that somebody was talking the other day about trying to show ROI with AI, and it's still too early for that. I think you first have to get people familiar with the technique. It's also evolving every day, every week. There are new aspects to AI. So I think companies have to embrace it, but they have to make sure that people are given the time to embrace it at their own pace.
Well, Dev, I think that is a very good conclusions of this first sessions in Learning Horizons for AI is, yes, having a little bit of fun, taking the time and being ambitious, but not so ambitious that we kind of lose sight of the learning process, which is trial, error, being a little bit playful. But also it's a time demanding process. Learning requires time.
Definitely.
And the workforce, the teams, the business will have to find time, make time for this skills development. Thank you so much, Deb. It was a pleasure to have you today with us.
Thank you. I also enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Gail.